Previously on the Junkman's Adventures.
Let's kick it and see if we got some spark. Wow, that's a really strong spark. Pieces of metal, but I've been messing around and now the engines can't kick it. Well, we're back at the bike here. I'm going to have to tear it down to find out what's going on in here, what those two little pieces of metal are from. Also, I didn't see the rotary valve spinning around in there, so got to figure out why that's not there. So I'm going to take off the head and cylinder, and then we'll be able to see in there. But while I do that, you're going to watch me put the carburetor back together. And by that time, I'll have the exhaust off and the cylinder and head. All right, we got the cylinder off, and as it was coming off, you might have seen something. There's a major problem right there. Part of the skirt is missing over there, and part of the skirt is missing right in there. There's a little burning there. There's a little dent there in the piston, but otherwise there's no other scuffing, and same with the inside of the cylinder. Looks actually really good in there. This is definitely salvageable. It didn't ruin the cylinder, which is good. There wasn't any pieces that came up and impacted the head. That looks really good. So I think the damage might be minimal, but there might be a piece down in there that's still kind of locking it up. I mean, I can move the crank a little bit, not with one hand here, but we're still going to have to pull this cover off to see what's going on with the rotary valve and everything. But I'm going to need to order some parts before I get to that. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to work on that other bike. Well, we got this one up here. Now off camera, I already checked for spark, and we have a bright blue spark. But before I go any farther, I got to take this carburetor off because I learned my lesson on this one over here. I think I just got unlucky, but either way, we're going to take the carburetor off, get it on the bench, clean it up, and then put it back on, and then hopefully get this thing to fire. Well, I took this one apart. I thought you'd like to see inside of it. It's pretty gummy in here. There's old two-stroke oil and whatever not. It's basically the same as the other carburetor, just a little bit different style of float. But we're going to just take it apart, dip it, and put it back together.
My lavalier mic was unplugged, but I didn't know about it, so just use your imagination. Rum. 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 Ning 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 ning. It runs! Okay, that's enough of that.
Well, we're back at the bench, and to finish up this video, I think we need to measure for the new parts we need for this bike. First things you're going to need is a service manual, because you're going to need the specs so you know what parts you need, and that covers the model. I have the factory one here. The climbers or Haynes will do just fine. Going to need a pair of calipers, and then some sort of bore gauge. I have this style. You can get the one with the gauge on it, but you're going to need something so you can measure different points down in the bore. Okay, the first thing we can do is measure the piston to find out what we have here. The standard dimension is 46.981, and it's supposed to be measured 5mm from the bottom. Well, because our skirt is broken, that's going to be a little hard here, but we can at least see if this is an oversized piston, because it'll be pretty obvious. We have a 46.8, so 1/10 of a millimeter. I mean, it's worn, but tells us we have a standard piston here. Well, now we're going to measure our cylinder, and the tool you're going to need is a bore gauge. You can get the one with the dial on there that you stick down and then read the gauge, or one like this where you squeeze these together, put them in there, put it where you need it, mark it, pull it out, grab your calipers, and then measure. And then you're going to record all the measurements, because in your service manual it is going to tell you exactly where to measure, and then what the specification is and what the tolerance is. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll find out if this cylinder is good enough to use. Well, after measuring multiple points in the cylinder, and I didn't make a note of it, but we're going to take two measurements each across from each other to see the outer roundness. So we did all these points down in the cylinder, and according to the specification, if maximum wear exceeds 0.15 millimeters of wear, or any of these measurements exceed 0.05 millimeters, then you need to hone, bore, or replace the cylinder. Now, we're within standard. Standard is this. We're not off too much. Now these dimensions here get a little close, but they're still within. There is wear. You can feel a small ridge at the top. I've felt worse, but this cylinder is probably half worn out, but it's still usable, especially in this use case. So we're going to be able to use this cylinder. Now, however, I'm going to run my hone through this to just sort of clean it up as best I can. Also put a crosshatch pattern in before I install the new rings. But when we get the new parts, we'll need to check piston clearance before that, and that'll be measuring ring gaps and the new piston to make sure we're within the proper spec once we get our new parts. Well, I think we've come to the end of this video, and I hope you've learned a couple of things about tackling a project like this. It isn't always as easy as it seems. I'm going to get some parts on order. We're going to continue to work on the other bike because the tank is severely rusted out, and I got a fix that I want to try for that, and I don't know if it's going to work. That'll be in the next video. Also, we'll keep working on taking this cover off, because I still got to investigate the rotary valve and some of the internals. So there's a lot more to come with this bike, or these bikes. So get subscribed, hit like on the video, give it a thanks. That's a one-time donation. Helps me produce these videos, buy the parts for it, or become a channel member. That really helps. It tells me you like this content, and it also tells YouTube to send it out to more people so they can enjoy this content. So anyway, until next time, I'm the Junk Man, and thanks for watching.